viewers, it's My Minute IAS Academy, and today we are going to see direct taxes. In our last video, we discussed about the introduction on taxation. We have seen the basics of taxes. It was stopped in the middle. I was sorry for that. Actually, because of some storage problems, it was stopped in the middle. Now we are going to continue that video. We are going to see direct taxes. In our next video, we can see indirect taxes. In indirect taxes, the most important thing which you need to see is GST, Goods and Services Tax. We will see about it in our next video. First, today let us discuss the direct taxes. The direct taxes, we have both union imposed direct taxes and state imposed direct taxes. First, we should know what is direct tax. We have seen these things in our previous video. In our previous video, we have discussed what are the types of taxation. We have direct tax as well as indirect tax. Direct tax, which is in which the payer and the bearer is same, which means the one who pay the tax as well as the one who bear the tax will be same in direct tax, whereas in case of indirect tax, the payer and the bearer will be different. Example, if you are going to buy something from a shop, then you are going to pay tax for the particular product which you have bought, but the one who is going to pay the tax, so you are the bearer, and the one who is going to pay the tax to the government is shopkeeper. Shopkeeper is the one who is going to pay the tax to the government, but you are the one who gave money for paying the tax, right? So you are the bearer. So the bearer and bearer is different in case of indirect taxes. So this is the basic thing which you should know. If you want a detailed explanation, you can watch my previous video. Now we are going to discuss direct tax. So in direct tax, there are certain taxes which are imposed by the union. Those are income tax, corporate tax, minimum adulterative tax, capital gain tax and security transaction tax. These are the taxes which are imposed by the union. And then we have certain taxes which are imposed by the state, in which we have agricultural income tax. Agricultural income tax is not imposed by the union, but it is imposed by the state. In income tax, there is an exception, and that is agriculture. The income that you get from agriculture, for which states will impose tax. So that is an important point which you should remember. And then we have certain taxes which are imposed by the state, and those are professional tax, stamp duty, property tax and road tax. For all these things, state will impose tax. And there are certain taxes which are in use. These are the things which are in use. These can be asked in UPSC Civil Service Exam Prelims 2021. So those are surcharge cess, Google tax or equalization tax, divide and distribution tax, buyback tax and Robin Hood tax. We can see all these taxes in this video. First, let us start with income tax. So income tax, it was introduced in 1860s. In 1860s, income tax was introduced, and it was imposed on an individual's income. On an individual's income, it was imposed. And what are the things which come under income? So under income, we have salary. Salary is an income, and we also have bank deposit interest. If you have deposited some amount of money, say 1000, and if you are getting 8% interest, and that 8% interest is also your income. So the interest which you are getting on bank deposit is also your income, and you might be getting some interest for the government securities. If you have got government securities, and for that government securities also you get some interest. So those interest also comes under your income. And apart from this, we have certain other things which come under income. So within this, we don't calculate the agricultural income which you are getting, because it is imposed by the union, right? Agricultural income is not counted in this. So it is imposed on an individual's income. The things which come under income or salary, the interest rate which you get on bank deposits, and the interest rate which you get on government securities, and all those things come under income. And it was imposed on 1860s. And there will be a tax slab. For this, there will be a tax slab, say 10%, 20%, 30%. Based on your income, the tax slab may vary. If you are earning less than 10,000, say, you might be around 10%. If you are earning 20 to 30,000, you might be falling under this category. Based on your income, your tax slab may vary. So this is the basic about income tax. So it is a progressive as well as proportional tax. If your income rises, your tax percentage also rises. So we have discussed what is income tax. And corporate tax is also an income tax actually, but it is imposed on big corporate owners. Say example, Ambani, Adani, or big corporate owners. They are big corporate owners, right? It is imposed on a corporate owner, but the income which we are getting, the government's income, so the income which government is getting from corporate tax is huge. That is why it is kept as a separate entity. But corporate tax is also an income tax. And then let us see about the corporate tax. Second one. So corporate tax, it is levied and imposed on the company's profit. It is levied and imposed on company's profit. If one is having a company, on the company's profit, it is levied, and the corporate tax also has some percentage. It varies from based on a certain criteria. Corporate tax percentage also vary. Example for that we can say for Indian company the corporate tax is 25%. Then for foreign company it might be 40 to 30%. Based on the turnover also, if it is less than if an Indian company is having a turnover less than that of 400 crore, it might be having 25%. If an Indian company is having turnover of more than 400 crore, then the corporate tax percentage is 40 to 30%. But the corporate tax slabs will vary actually. Now the current thing is 22%. From 25, they have changed it to 22%, and for foreign company it is 40%. So corporate tax, there will be some concessions which will be given for startup companies. The companies which are not older than 10 years is considered as a startup, and their turnover will not be more than 100 crore. So you should know what is startup companies. Startup companies are companies that are not older than 10 years and their annual turnover is not more than 100 crore, means they are considered as a startup company. For startup company, they are exempted from corporate tax for first 3 years. They are tax free for first 3 years, and after that they need to pay taxes to the government. So these are the concessions which are given by the government for startups. And corporate tax is also income tax. This is the normal story, and the percentage of the corporate tax may vary from company to company based on its criteria. If it is a startup, it is exempted, and there are some tax concessions for certain companies also. Then we have minimum adulterative tax. What is this minimum adulterative tax? This minimum adulterative tax was introduced in 1996 only. Before 1996, actually there is no tax called as minimum adulterative tax. Actually, corporate tax is imposed on company's profit. So what happens is, what company do is, if there is no profit, if a product is not sold, then no taxes needed to be paid, right? What company do is, they will show zero profit. Most of the companies will show zero profit and they will try to escape from tax. This is what done before 1996. Then what government planned is, they plan to introduce a new tax called as minimum adulterative tax, under which they have to pay a tax of for their book profit. If their book profit, if they have a turnover of more than 1500 crore, then they need to pay 15% as the minimum adulterative tax. This is what introduced by the government to escape to manage this zero profit cheating. So what the actual story is, before 1996, the companies will show zero profit. They will show zero profit and they will try to escape from the tax. To manage this, our government of India introduced a tax, and that is called as minimum adulterative tax, in which the company need to pay a tax for their profit, for their book profit. If their turnover is greater than 1500 crore, then they need to pay 15% of the turnover. 15% for this 1500 crore they need to pay. That is minimum adulterative tax. But while it was late, now it is 15%, but when it was late, it is 15.5%. Now the minimum adulterative tax percentage is reduced. And inside GIFT City is in Gujarat. It is for international financial service sector. Financial service sectors will be inside. So for those international financial service sector which are inside GIFT City, they have MAT, minimum adulterative tax of 9%. So they might ask question like, inside GIFT City, MAT is exempted. There is no MAT tax inside GIFT City. They might give a statement like this, but it is wrong. Inside GIFT City, the MAT tax percentage is less compared to that of other places. So this is the fact. Minimum adulterative tax inside the GIFT City is 9%, but generally it is 15%, and that is minimum adulterative tax. Then we have capital gain tax. Say, what are the things which come under capital? Capital means if you have a building, that is a capital. If you have some gold jewelries, that is capital. The capital is some infrastructure or thing which is invested, in which you have invested something. Say those are the things which are considered as capital. In that capital, if you are getting a profit because of selling that capital, then for that profit you need to pay a tax, and that is called as capital gain tax. Say example, you have a jewelry, you have a chain. For this chain, you brought this chain for 100 rupees before 20 years, and if you are going to sell this gold jewelry after 20 years, then it might cost around 1 lakh. Then you got some profit, right? For this profit, you need to pay a tax, and it is called as capital gain tax. This is not only for gold jewelries, it is also common for if you are selling a building or if you are selling any of your capital. While selling, you will be getting some profit. If you are getting some profit, for this profit you need to pay a tax, and that is called as capital gain tax. Capital gain tax is of two types. One is long-term capital gain tax, and another one is short-term capital gain tax. In long-term capital gain tax, if you are selling it after 2 years, then it is called as after 2 years or greater than 2 years, it is called as long-term capital gain tax. Whereas if you are selling it in a very short duration of time, then it is called as short-term capital gain tax. Because certain things, the cost of the prices will rise very rapidly. Say if you are buying a building today for 20 lakh, and if within 3 months if the cost of the building is 20 lakhs, then you are getting profit, and for that profit you might pay a tax, and that is called as short term capital gain tax. Based on the duration, there are two types. One is long term and another one is short term. Then we have security transaction tax, which is also a direct tax. And then let us see these things. First one is, let us see surcharge. Surcharge is nothing but it is a tax on tax. If you have income tax of 20%, say, plus you will be having 4% as tax, as surcharge. So it is a tax on tax. Surcharge is a tax on tax, and the reason, the objective of this surcharge is not clear. The objective of this surcharge is not clear. Why it has imposed, for what it has imposed, it will not be clear. That is the criteria, that is the feature of surcharge, and it will not be shared with the it will not be shared between the states. Actually, a point which I need to say is, generally the taxes which are collected by the union, from taxes our central government is going to get a revenue. This money is going to be shared with the states. This taxes money will be going to Consolidated Fund of India. We have discussed about Consolidated Fund of India while we are discussing Fiscal Policy Part 1 video. In Fiscal Policy Part 1 video, we have said about Consolidated Fund of India. So the money which we have collected from the taxes will go to Consolidated Fund of India, and from this Consolidated Fund of India, Finance Commission is a body which we will discuss later. So this Finance Commission will recommend about how this fund can be distributed between the state and the center. Now there is approximately 40-60. Say 60% of the funds which are collected, 60% of the tax money which is collected by the union will be with the union, whereas the rest 40% of the money which is collected from this tax will be shared between the states. In this 40%, the money will be shared between all the states, all the 28 states, based on many criteria, like based on the area of the state, based on the population of the state, based on whether the particular state is rich or poor, based on the forest cover, based on certain criteria, the money will be distributed between the states. This is the general story for the taxes. But this surcharge will not be shared. This surcharge money will also go to the Consolidated Fund of India, but it will not be shared with the states as per Finance Commission recommendation. So it is not shared with the states as per Finance Commission recommendation, but the surcharge money will go to the Consolidated Fund of India. Its objective will not be clear. These are the things which are relating to surcharge. Then we have cess. Cess is also something similar to surcharge. It is also a tax on tax. It is also a tax on tax, but one major difference between surcharge and cess is the objective will be clear in case of cess. In case of cess, the objective will be clear. Example, we can say Swachh Bharat cess, and then we have GST cess also. GST compensation cess, Swachh Bharat cess, then we have some education cess, Krishi Kalyan cess. The objective of the cess will be clear, and also it will not be shared. It will also not be shared as per Finance Commission recommendation. The cess money will also not shared with the states. But in some cases, say example, we can say GST. GST compensation cess will be shared with the states, but not as per Finance Commission recommendation, but as per the recommendation of GST Council. As per the recommendation of GST Council, GST compensation cess is shared between the states, but it is not shared as per Finance Commission recommendation. That is cess. So these are the difference between cess and surcharge. And then we have Google tax. Google tax is also called as equalization tax. In Google, YouTube and other things, we are getting ad, right? For that ad, the company which is giving that ad will pay money to the concerned people. So it will pay money to Google or YouTube, right? So from which YouTube and Google is going to earn enormous profits. For this profit, they need to pay something, right? Pay something as tax, right? That is Google tax or equalization tax. So generally what they do is Google, Facebook, YouTube and all others, what they say is they are not in India actually. They are not in India. The server is not in India. Their server is in foreign country, and they say that they are in foreign country and they do not need to pay tax in India. But what India says, they are earning profit from India. So they need to pay tax to India. So this is the stand between those two, and it was introduced in 2016. It was introduced in 2016 for the foreign digital advertisements. It was introduced in 2016, and this equalization tax will not come under income tax. It is neither income tax nor a corporate tax. For this, a separate bill is passed. This is one important thing. For this, a separate bill is passed. Taking corporate tax, it will be coming under the Income Tax Act 1961. So I have already said, right, corporate tax is also an income tax. So it will come under the Income Tax Act 1961. Whereas this equalization tax is not an income tax. It is not a corporate tax. For introducing this equalization tax, a separate bill is passed. And while introducing, it was 6%. The equalization tax is 6% in 2016. But now it is just 2%. This is for digital ads, the ads which you are getting in YouTube and Google. For this, there is a tax, and it is called as equalization tax. And then we have divide and distribution tax. So what is this divide and distribution tax? First, we should know what is dividend. So dividend is nothing but a company needs a capital, a money to develop their company. So say a company need 100 rupees. So what they will do is they will introduce share in the market. Say 1 rupee per share. Per share cost 1 rupee, and there will be 100 shares introduced. So each person will buy the share. Each person will buy share, and using this 100 rupees, they will get some profit. Say they got 20% as the profit, which means they got 20 rupees as profit, and they will distribute this 20 rupees to all the 100 share owners. And by distributing this profit, right, this is called as, this profit distributed thing is called as dividend. So getting a profit, the company in which you have invested as a share got some profit, and they will distribute it to you, and that is called as dividend. For distributing this dividend, for dividend distribution, there is a tax, and that is called as dividend distribution tax. So the thing is, corporate generally need money for while they are needing money. If they don't have it, they will introduce share in the market, and if you have brought a share, then many people would have brought it, and in this share, by using this money which is collected from selling shares, they might have made some profit, and they will give their profit back to us as a dividend. And for this dividend distribution, there is a tax, and it is called as dividend distribution tax. So this is the concept between dividend distribution tax. Then we have buyback tax. So this is a concept. This dividend distribution tax is a thing. This happens when the company is not having enough money in their hands. But what is this buyback tax? It is just opposite to that of divide and distribution tax. In buyback tax, company is having huge amount of money. It is so rich. It is having money, and they need to buy back the taxes, buy back the shares which they have given to the people. Say during some point of time, the company needs money, and they sold 100 shares for 1 rupee, and now they need the shares back. So they will give the money back, and they will get the shares from the customers. So this is called as buyback, and during this also a tax is collected, and it is called as buyback tax. So this buyback is company repurchasing their own shares from the market, and that is called as buyback tax. And for that a tax is collected, and that is called as buyback tax. And the last one is we have Robin Hood tax. Robin Hood tax, or it is called as Tobin tax, It is also called as financial transaction tax. This Robin Hood tax or Tobin tax or financial transaction tax is nothing but you are going to a foreign, say if you are going to USA, you need dollar to purchase something there. So you will convert your rupee to dollar. So while converting this rupee to dollar, you need to pay a tax. Tax for the exchange of foreign currencies. Tax for the exchange of foreign currencies is called as Robin Hood tax or Tobin tax. While exchanging this foreign currency, you will pay a tax called as Robin Hood tax or Tobin tax. To escape from this only, people will go for Hawala transactions. So if you are approaching Hawala transaction, you will be escaped from Robin Hood tax or Tobin tax, but it is illegal. Going for Hawala transaction is illegal to skip the Robin Hood tax. So it is not clear. It is not clear. Robin Hood tax is not mentioned as direct or indirect tax, but there is a tax called as Robin Hood tax. So these are the things which come under direct tax. And then we have indirect tax, in which we have value added tax, excise duty, customs duty, we have GST, goods and service tax, and we have service tax. Let us see all those things in our next video. Subscribe to Myla Minetta IAS Academy. Thank you.